Today, we'll be keeping up with another annual tradition that we like to do here by going over the most hated players of 2022. In doing so, we'll be learning why they're so hated by opponents and spectators alike, and most likely, some incidents that have led to the distaste. And with that, here are the top 7 most hated NHL players of 2022. They say that first impressions in life are the most important, that how you present yourself in the early moments in every relationship will have some influence over how people will see you for the rest of time. And for Sidney Crosby, he's still unfortunately seen as the inexperienced teenager that joined the league, with still a lot of maturing to do. Especially throughout his first few NHL seasons, Sid the Kid gained the reputation for being a diver and the type that whined continuously to officials. Even though it was years later, what happened to Mark Methot certainly didn't help Crosby's already strained relationship with NHL fans, as many believed that Crosby's star status helped him avoid punishment for causing Mark Methot to suffer a horrific injury to his finger. Even though he's one of the most decorated active players today, there's still a certain margin of fans out there that don't view number 87 in the best light. Early in 2018, LA Kings defenseman Drew Doughty was quoted saying that he believed Matthew Tkachuk could easily be the most hated player league-wide. And while he does have some competition for the title, Tkachuk has been progressively climbing up NHL fans' hate lists. Earlier in his career, he not only became sworn enemies with Drew Doughty, but also Zach Kassian as well, as Tkachuk seemingly likes to exploit a certain type of opponents that has a temper and presents themselves as a loose cannon. While making his living in front of the opposing team's net, Tkachuk has fully embraced what it means to be a pest. He also has perfected the art of purposefully getting under his opponent's skin, whether it be through relentless chirping or just petty antics. You can always count on him to rattle the opposition. Thinking back specifically to the Battle of Alberta this playoffs, it was clear that Tkachuk had hit a nerve with Oilers forward Evander Kane after he asked him if he needed any money. When Jacob Trouba made his way to the Big Apple, at the time he had flown under the radar, mostly in Winnipeg, meaning that his questionable antics hadn't really been front and center for the NHL world to witness. Sure, he did get suspended for his hit on Mark Stone while he was perfecting his patented hit, but Trouba wasn't scrutinized as harshly as he was this past postseason. Known as the Trouba train, the defenseman has found a way to deliver punishing blows to his opponents while remaining undetected by player safety. Sidney Crosby, Jake Guentzel, Max Domi, and Seth Jarvis were all victims of suspect hits dealt to them by Trouba himself. Sure, Trouba did receive a penalty once for elbowing, but as the questionable hits racked up this playoffs, the dislike for Trouba seemed to intensify amongst NHL fans. Interestingly, at the time this video is being released, Perry has participated in the last 3 Stanley Cup finals. What's even funnier is that it's possible that he could have done so with one team if he was with Tampa the whole time, but instead, he's been with a different team every occasion. Anyways, known as the Worm, Perry plays a similar style of game as Matthew Tkachuk, the net front presence that loves the dirty areas and the opposition that comes with it. Usually, Perry's making it his personal mission to antagonize the opposing team's goalie by any means necessary. And outside of that, Perry has had his fair share of suspensions for questionable behavior. Even at 37 years of age, Perry has proven that age hasn't softened him up one bit. Most recently, fans expressed outrage on social media following what appeared to be an attempt to injure by Perry on JT Compher. Definitely one of those more controversial players in the game today, Evander Kane has been pushing the limit when it comes to hockey culture from day one. From flaunting his money to refusing at one point reportedly to follow team dress code, it's easy to imagine why Kane wouldn't be everyone's favorite player. Due to Kane's personal life becoming unraveled in recent years, well, it only opened the door for more criticism from spectators as well. Outside of off-ice activity, Kane has also played in the grayer areas over the years. His most recent incident that got the attention of players' safety was a hit on Nazem Kadri that resulted in the forward breaking his finger. In result, Kane was given a 1-game suspension. I mean, you had to pretty much expect that Wilson was going to be on this list. For years now, Tom Wilson has been one of the most despised players in the NHL. Why, you ask? Well, 5 suspensions and 3 fines later, let's just say Wilson often sees blurred lines when it comes to legality. And since he has a bigger frame that allows him to be that bruising power forward, more often than not, he ends up injuring his opponents while neglecting their safety. His most controversial incident yet was the one that involved Artemi Panarin and the New York Rangers, something that Wilson ended up paying for. Well, if you count $5,000 fair penance for a multimillionaire, that is. This past All-Star game in Vegas, fans were sure to boo Wilson while he was being introduced in the lineup prior to the festivities commencing. And yet another no-brainer. Pretty much since day one, Marchand has made it a point to go out of his way, relentlessly, to taunt his opponents and even fans. Yes, I'm talking about the time he swiped some kid's phone. Known as the Rat, like Wilson, he's also been suspended several times for questionable actions. And there was a point in time where the NHL world was beginning to believe that Marchand had outgrown the previous antics. However, last season proved otherwise, due to losing his cool against the Penguins and lashing out at Tristan Jarry. Marchand received a lengthy suspension, something he had the nerve to actually try and get reduced. Anyways, one would have to work pretty hard to knock Marchand off from the top in order to be the most hated player instead.